Hi everyone, welcome to our workshop today. And it's great to see all of you joining from different parts of the world and organizations. So today we have a very exciting topic and a very exciting opportunity when it comes to women's sport and how YouTube and Roblox can be your best friend when it comes to acquiring fandom, growing presence, and amazingly great opportunities of different types of revenue as well. So today I am joining this workshop from London, and my good friend Jo is also joining from England. So I'll let her to introduce herself as well.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. I'll keep it very short. I'm in sunny Manchester this afternoon, and so we are going to be taking you on a fast and furious 30 minutes, giving you lots of insights and information about YouTube and Roblox and the huge opportunities for women's sport on there. So without further ado, I'm going to let you kick off, Bengu.
Perfect, thanks. As Jo mentioned, we are going to be very crisp and fast as the platforms. So first off, I would like to kind of start with obviously talking about why these platforms, why YouTube specifically is a key platform when it comes to sport and when it comes to women's sport. Just today, and I've put together some numbers that I would like to kind of walk you through. Maybe I can just start showing my screen and oh yeah, perfect. Just today, actually, I saw on the news that YouTube CEO was mentioning shorts are already reaching 200 billion daily views. Like, I want that, let that sink in, because 200 billion is a massive number. I think a couple of years ago, that number was 70 billion. So it's almost tripled in a few years, maybe 1 or 2 years. But overall, I mean, everybody on this workshop knows that YouTube is actually the platform with the most reach on the globe. So, but when it comes to different, like how sports play out on YouTube, specifically, we know that Generation Z and Generation Alpha, their viewing habits is really skewed towards kind of discovering content, engaging with content, mainly on YouTube. 95% of Gen Z use YouTube weekly, and also 45% of Gen Z say that they discover new sports day in, day out, or new athletes day in, day out on YouTube, according to some stats. But specifically, I want to kind of like divert the attention on why women's sport. Women's sport is important because we have seen that sports in general is increasing on the platform by 30% since last year. But then when it comes to advertising and revenue opportunity and also other opportunities, we know that women's sport is underutilized on the platform. And people are only just waking up to this fact very recently because of some good examples that has been happening on the platform. Before I dive into some examples on who's doing what on women's sport on YouTube, I want to pass it over to Jo, because I also want to learn from her why Roblox as a second platform to YouTube in terms of capturing that audience for women's sport.
Thank you, Bengu. So a great opportunity to do a similar thing to what Bengu has just done in terms of usage of Roblox amongst this cohort, Gen Z and Gen A for women's sports. Both platforms are known as UGC platforms. You will be familiar with that term. And really, that is where the attention has shifted to for this younger generation. So women's sport has to fight for attention in those spaces in an age of infinite content. But there's some opportunities there. Even though we know that there are more routes into sports media than ever, we've got creators, we've got athletes, we've got YouTube, we've got gaming that we're talking about, and that equals fragmentation. Actually, what that presents is an opportunity, because women's sport not quite reached that critical mass that perhaps men's sport has, but that means it's free from a lot of the baggage, a lot of that established kind of legacy baggage that men's sports carries. What do we know about young fans of women's sport? Well, we know Not only are they hanging out on YouTube, but they're spending increasing amounts of time gaming. But the way that they consume is different. And this is why I want to point out this tension between interest versus attention. And some of you that know me know that it's a big bugbear of mine when people say that young people's attention spans have shortened. They haven't. It's their interest spans that have shortened because there's so much content vying for their interest. So what you need to do when you're thinking about how to engage young and fans of women's sport, but young people and fans of women's sport, think about the spark, stoke, reward model. This is something that can be woven into sports media whilst women's sports is establishing its fandom that a lot of the men's sports don't really know how to do. And it's called spark, stoke, reward. And I'll whiz through it quickly, but it's a really good way of grabbing interest and sustaining attention. And it works across YouTube and Roblox. So spark curiosity from the start, grab their interest. You've got less than 2 seconds. Actually, before any moving pictures start or you'll go into a game, the thumbnail, make that interesting. So onboard your fans quickly into your content or into your game. Then when you've got that, you've sparked that interest, you stoke that interest, you stoke it, you feed it, you make it anything but dull. But you need to know your audience to be able to do that. And then what you do is you reward the fact that they've stayed with you. They've clicked on that piece of content, or they've watched that video, or they've stayed in your game for more than a couple of minutes. You deliver on that promise of fun. You reward them. You can give them digital items. You can create an event or a challenge. You can drop a new digital piece of avatar clothing. In return, they'll reward you with their attention. So this then becomes a loop. Spark, stoke, reward. Do it again. And this is how you maintain attention on these UGC platforms in an era where there's lots of other content vying for their interest. With that in mind, then you can apply that to your content, your women's sport content, whether it's YouTube or Roblox. But just to talk to you about Roblox, let's look at those figures. 98.5, so nearly 100 million daily active users are going to Roblox. It's huge, but 42% of them are female. Now, if you think of other areas of gaming, you think of console gaming, EA Sports, FC, it's older, but it's very male dominated. Roblox is much more equally balanced because it's social gaming. And we know that younger female users are more inherently social. But on average, they're spending about 2 hours a day on Roblox. This flies under the radar. There's a depth of engagement on Roblox that a lot of other content struggles to achieve. The fastest growing cohort on the platform, it's not just young kids, 17 to 24-year-olds. Don't forget that Roblox is nearly as old as YouTube. So you've got a cohort of 17 to 24-year-olds on there that have grown up with Roblox. They've been on it 8-9 years already. So the majority is still teens, but that's where you want to get them. That's where fandom is formed. Revenue, 3.6 billion in 2024, up 29%. It's an economy in and of itself. And this stat always blows my mind. In the last 3 months, at the end of last year, the equivalent of 2.1 million years of time was spent engaged on the platform. We want women's sport to get some of that. 165 billion avatar outfit changes in 2023. Huge fashion element on there. It's about self-expression. And again, in women's sport, that can really be played on. Top performing games, at any one time, they can have hundreds of thousands of what's called CCUs, concurrent users, all in playing at the same time. Again, this inherently social gaming, playing together, doing challenges together. That's a real opportunity in women's sports. In fact, very recently, just last week, the most popular game on the platform, which is an outlier, but it went off like crazy, had millions of users in at the same time, all growing a garden, which is really interesting. Those top earners can earn millions, but it shouldn't be the reason for activating on Roblox. Roblox is about building community, having a conversation with your audience and fans, and really growing that fandom. And then monetization will come, but it shouldn't be the main aim for optimizing on there. This might be difficult to see, but we can send it round. But it just goes to show in terms of minutes, how much time is being spent on Roblox. So this breaks down global, US, UK, France, Spain, and Australia. Massive survey on digital habits amongst families with kids 4 to 18. 400,000 users surveyed. So a really big, robust survey. And if you can see any of those figures, you will see on a global level, Roblox on a daily basis is getting about 100, I can't even see myself, about 129 minutes of usage. The US are very heavy users. You can see it's higher. Interestingly, Australia, heavy users of Roblox, and the UK. France and Spain, a little bit less so. They tend to like Brawl Stars, which is a big mobile game. But huge amounts of time on there, and people aren't realizing how much time younger sports fans and gamers are spending on these platforms. So for now, I'm going to hand back to Bengu for some best practices on YouTube, and then we're going to come back and have a look at how women's sport might show up on Roblox.
That was very insightful, and I didn't know those obviously stats from Roblox. It's very exciting, and as you mentioned, it's all about communities. It reminds me of when YouTube started as well. It was all about like finding those communities and enriching them and having your super fans to kind of like use it as your word of mouth kind of army. And I want to now walk through, because when I was preparing for this workshop, I wanted to see, okay, who's doing what in terms of women's sport on YouTube, and what is the value and what can we learn from them? Because I think there are two folds into this conversation. To your point, there is non-existent content on YouTube from women's sport point of view. So most of the content might not even be there right now. And the first piece of action is actually bringing that content, starting from scratch and bringing that content and having that content meet with the audience and finding new fandom. And the second piece is there might be already obviously established men's sports or sports content or women's sports organizations already on YouTube, and they may be playing a different game on YouTube in terms of their strategy and what we can learn from them. Different areas when it comes to case studies. This first one is showing us the premise is how to unlock value and reach new fandom. And this is a very interesting one. I think it's like the flagship of case studies from my research. There is a really nice Guardian article about this. I highly recommend you go and check it out. And what happened is like Women's Super League, they moved most of their non-TV matches on YouTube. And there was an explosive growth in terms of their live viewership, almost tripled. Very, very interestingly, when it was compared to some of the games that they premiered on FA Player, they reached like, they reached the number is like 78,000 views. But when they put some other games on YouTube specifically, for instance, the Leicester versus Arsenal game, it did capture almost triple the same amount of views, so like more than 250,000 live viewership. This is insane. So I think from my understanding, one key important thing is just putting the content out there, is the key, is the starting point. Just we don't have to kind of go through amazing, like sophisticated strategies, just put the content out there. And another interesting value that I've gathered from this case study and my research is Nielsen reports that I think this is also unlocking some value in their negotiations or value in their kind of like rights opportunity when it comes to their negotiations, because now that there is value of triple the value in terms of audience engagement and audience reach, obviously that content is valued more in terms of its value. So this is a very good, I think, learning point for many organizations. Just put the content out there. That's a good starting point. Second one is coming from Women's Hockey League. And I was in one of the articles that I found, it says that they have kind of grew their subscriber base by more than 2,500% in the first season. And I was wondering what they do, like, because the channel started in 2023, and I'm like, okay, what was the driving force in that subscriber growth? Again, it goes back to the first idea, put the content out there. But now these guys has done something interesting. They are obviously putting full games, just free games, like full match for free. And instead of you trying to find your audience elsewhere, just have the content meet the audience where the audience is actually present, is a key learning in my point of view. But then I was also checking their short form. Their short form is, I've just took a screenshot of two important examples. One of them is they are revealing a new jersey, which is very simple, but highly like emotionally attached when you think about fans. You know, every fan would love to see the new jersey, and if you make a short out of it, it works. And then another one is almost like a behind the scenes kind of footage of the players. So this gives you the perspective, okay, full game, give it for free, and have the audience enjoy that and connect with the brand. Second one, make it personal and touch the fans utilizing YouTube friendly formats. Another example comes from women's game Man in Blazers. Shout out to the team behind. They're doing obviously a phenomenal job. And here my learning point is it's beyond videos on YouTube. So YouTube also has different functionalities and tools. Like there is a screenshot of one of their polls, how they are actively utilizing platform, not using videos, but just simply putting polls and driving audience engagement. And then I took 3 screenshots of their kind of shorts. One of them is depicting it's an interview of a athlete winning a gold medal, and the interview is based on how she felt when she won that gold medal. It's not about the stats, not about the actual footage of the winning kind of like a race, but it's actually how she felt in that very moment. Another one is a reaction video. As you know, on YouTube, reaction videos are one of the most popular formats. So which shows that they are actually utilizing YouTube native formats integrated into their content. Like as a reaction video, this athlete is seeing their figure and reacting to that, which is very smart. And a third one is kind of like a compilation or a highlight of some important kind of key moments from a game. Again, this is beyond videos because they are not utilizing just videos. They are utilizing other features that are available on YouTube, but they are making their content very YouTube native by making it reaction videos or emotional videos in terms of their content strategy. When we go a step up, and my last case study kind of comes from women's NBA. I don't know if we can show it, I'm not sure, but I highly recommend going to their channel. And when you land on your channel, they have one video, it says, warning, the following footage is offensive. It's amazingly edited. It is a kind of like a trailer video for the new season. And it's very emotional. You might have seen these like Women's Day Nike ads where they put like Serena Williams, like, you know, highly emotional kind of Women's Day videos. It's almost a similar cut to that. And that really hooked me on the channel. When I land on the channel, when I saw that video, I was like, whoa, this is really emotional. This is very strong kind of trailer. So I do really recommend going to that channel and checking that content. But then I was checking, okay, what are these guys doing that made them so successful on YouTube? They are almost reaching 500,000 subscribers. 2 things. They're not just putting sports content on YouTube. They're putting highlights. They're putting highlights from the games. They're putting highlights from their athletes. But they have a podcast where it's off topic. You know, it's like an interview of the athletes, interview of lifestyles. They also have a day in my life type of another series. So they did create lifestyle content on YouTube to make it more kind of authentic and also reachable, to put a different perspective for the athlete and for the game. So don't think just sports, but think about how you create that connection using the athlete, and using lifestyle content on YouTube. Again, in my opinion, there are two things on YouTube that you could leverage. If there is a successful channel, go and understand what they're doing right. And this is a great channel to go and check. These are 4 things. Just to summarize, put your content on YouTube. That's a very good starting point. Second one, make it YouTube relevant. If shorts are today generating 200 billion views a day, you got to cut those shorts, because that's a great way to reach new audiences. Don't think about just videos. Think about what other things you can do on YouTube. Use the polls. And lastly, go study successful channels on YouTube and learn from them. And with that, I'm just going to pass it on to Joe.
Well, that's perfect, because that is exactly the kind of advice that works on Roblox too. So, as I implied before, these are 2 platforms that are very, very complementary. Those of you who have young people in your lives will often have seen them dual screen. They're very often playing Roblox whilst watching their favorite YouTuber also playing their favorite Roblox experience. So this is where the 2 platforms become very complementary and can merge. Same as on YouTube, you can run polls in your Roblox game. Those can be really interesting. You can do quizzes. You can use it as a way to have a conversation and find out information from your audience. But just to recap, this opportunity for women's sport to connect with younger gamers, younger fans of social video and of social gaming, these social first fans that I talk about a lot. Why is Roblox so compelling? Well, a lot of these statements that I'm about to make also apply to YouTube, so you'll see why they work so well together. It makes consumption frictionless. You will know increasingly, as old people don't like friction in our media diets, well, young people hate friction. And when you have got a platform like Roblox, where there's 4.5 million games and experiences for them to play in, similar to YouTube, that's got 100 million YouTube channels, you want to be able to swim around in that content and play and engage with your community in a frictionless way. Those built-in community features that Bengu spoke about are also reflected in Roblox. Women and girl gamers tend to be inherently more social. That can be leveraged again in women's sports. They're prolific sharers. They love getting their friends together and participating in challenges. And that participation is really interesting, because participation is really important for engagement. You know, they want active play, and that can be used to then even prompt participation off platform. So this serves young fans with content in the right place. That sounds a little bit like what Bengu just said. It's social and collaborative experiences. That is gold dust. And it's creator-led content. The creators and the developers on Roblox, much like YouTube, are usually creators and developers that have grown up on that platform themselves. They've turned a passion into a profession. They make content that feels made for me. And it gets you closer to your potential fan base. And these immersive games are shareable. You can take game clips. When you're in a YouTube experience, you can take a game clip, and guess where they go and post it? They go and post it on TikTok and YouTube. And that is, again, a great way to start those seeds of fandom blossoming. What I wanted to show you here. Now, bear in mind, women's sport does not have a huge presence on Roblox. It's barely there. But this is an opportunity because it's hugely underserved. Last year, there were 500 million hours of sports games played on YouTube. But most of them, even though you can be a girl gamer and you can go in and play these games, most of them are based around the men's game. Look at there, in the search bar, I typed in sports, and look what's come up. We've got gymnastics there. But most of it, volleyball, we've got basketball, we've got some street soccer. Look at the avatars. They're based around the men's game. And most of those men look pretty buff as well. I mean, unfortunately, stereotyping does happen a lot on Roblox. It's getting better, but we need to help educate the Roblox developer base. It's not all, girl sports is not all about cheerleading and gymnastics. But when I did type in women's sports, well, we run out of women's sports pretty quickly, don't we? We have got all of the gymnastics and cheer, but there's very little else there. And that, I think, is a bit of a shame. So there is an opportunity. There's white space. There's underserved demand from those 100 million daily active users, 42% of whom are female, and a lot of them are sports fans. So the opportunity here for women's sports, if you're a rights holder or you're a league, is to activate on the platform. I want to go back to something that Bengu said, actually. Dress to Impress, fashion game on Roblox, one of the more popular ones. But they have, what happens in Dress to Impress is you're given a challenge and a theme and you put together outfits. So here's some screen grabs I took from a TikTok. You will see from the vertical. It was from a TikTok that was shared by a player in Dress to Impress, sharing the sport outfits that she put together. And you'll see there that this self-expression, this idea of fashion and sport coming together is really interesting. Well, we know that cultural collaborations can be really powerful in sport. And these were shared on TikTok. But what was interesting, there's certain poses that happen in Dress to Impress. When you're walking the catwalk and you do your pose at the end, that started bleeding over. You'll see one of the basketball fits there. That started bleeding over into some of the YouTube content that came out of the Women's NBA. So you'd got players in the Women's NBA doing these tunnel fit poses that came from Dress to Impress on YouTube. So again, this cross-pollination that shows how interested young fans are to engage with women's sport, but do it in a way that's unique to their identity and to how they feel about women's sports. So for anyone thinking of activating on the platform, really the best piece of advice is it doesn't have to be women's sports cast in the form of the men's game. Think about what young fans want and facilitate that fandom. So in the absence of women's sport having a meaningful presence on Roblox, when I was looking for case studies to share like Bengu, really I came down to Elf Beauty. Now, Elf Beauty is a really interesting cosmetics brand. They have a great experience on Roblox. It's not just all about cosmetics and makeup and looking good. It's about empowering young female or young fans of beauty in general, I would imagine mainly female, but not exclusively female, to become cosmetics entrepreneurs. So they have to design their own ranges and packaging and become cosmetics entrepreneurs. So it's not just about looking good, it's about empowering them to think of themselves as entrepreneurs. But what Elf have also done recently is they have sponsored Catherine Legg, who is a NASCAR driver. She took part in the Indy 500 too. So Elf has sponsored her. But what they've also done is they've put her into their Roblox experience. So this is women's sport. This is within the wider Elf game on Roblox. But there's Catherine, there's her car, same livery as they wrapped in real life. And you can play and you can interact with Catherine and you can take the car on a lap around the Indy 500 in Elf on Roblox. So this is really interesting. Again, doesn't have to be just a lift and shift of what happens in the real world. You can actually integrate into other experiences that have a similar demographic that you're trying to reach. And that's a really interesting way to maybe start integrating into Roblox without going full with your own game from off the bat. You can start integrating, and there's some really interesting ways that you can do that. And I'm happy to chat to anybody who might be interested in doing it. So I'm going to wrap up here and hand back to Bengu as we wrap. But as you will no doubt have seen, huge opportunity across both of these platforms, these social first platforms where fandom can really, really grow. And this is where women's sport, I think, can really forge ahead and almost ahead of the men's game in building fandom for 2025 and beyond, and this new type of fandom consumption.
I really like that Elf case study. It's very inspiring. It gives a lot of ideas, which I'm not going to share right now, but if anyone is interested, again, you can write to us and then we can have a brainstorming session. Very finally, like at last, I want to kind of wrap up with some key takeaways on how you can kind of get a head start on YouTube when it comes to women's sport, or if you're already on YouTube, like what are the basic things, like almost like a playbook. And there are like 5 things I put together Maybe if I can manage to kind of show the slides again. Yep, perfect. Okay, so leaning into shorts again is the first thing. It's a great starting point because you don't need to create new content. You just leverage your archive, just turn them into shorts and start. Second one, YouTube is a long play platform. You got to be on YouTube for years. You got to be consistent on YouTube as well. But again, driving back from what Joe was mentioning, from that ELF story, and also from some of the stats that I've been seeing, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they not only follow teams or specific sports, they follow personalities, right? So you need to also kind of bring up these personalities in your content, which are your athletes. So athlete interviews, backstage, or like not backstage, but behind the scenes kind of footage with athletes, training stuff, something more personal from athletes. So those personalities, because these generations, they do follow personalities. Even though these personalities do change their teams, they will be your best source of kind of gem in terms of creating that connection with the fans. Collaboration or cross promotion is, maybe I've been talking about it for 15 years now on YouTube, is one of the fastest ways to grow a channel. So find those other athlete influencers, find those other sports podcasts and collaborate with them. I mean, reach out to them. I'm sure there is like a win-win situation for everybody. So find that win-win and make sure that you are on that podcast or that podcast is on your channel, etc. I mean, optimizing content is obviously our bread and butter. Do optimize that content. Make sure to change your titles frequently. Make sure to add the right kind of relevant keywords to your content if you have the content online. You can always get a free YouTube channel audit at full score as well. And also, very lucky, sports, women's sports or sports content in general, they have an unfair advantage, I would say, in terms of YouTube. And that unfair advantage is different events that might be happening throughout the year. There's a hype during those events, as we've seen during the Olympics. There was like a massive surge in terms of search. There are upcoming events. Build your content around those events. This is a very simple, and again, this is a 15-year-old tactic. Make sure to catch those events and make sure to kind of build content around those spikes. These are the 5 things to take away. And if you would like to have more information, you can always reach out to me and Joe. And also we will be sharing a form for any follow-up questions. Unless you have any questions right now, we would be happy to kind of take a few as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that feedback. Gosh, that was fast and furious, wasn't it? A lot to take in, but you can contact us on those email addresses there or on LinkedIn. More than happy once people have digested all of that to answer some questions at a further date, at a later date. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Christina. Perfect.
Amazing.
And
thank you, Bengi.
Thanks, Joe. And thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We will follow up with this video recording. Obviously, we will follow up with a form and with the different contact details, so you know where to find us if needed.
Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Bye, everyone.